All right, children, the time now is 7 p.m. Yes, I'm Ben Ong here from 88 Tuition. So today is our main master class, and we are doing something called lower sec mathematics. So we group sec 1 and sec 2 together. So it will be a good revision for the Sec 2 because I'm covering Sec 1 work. And for the Sec 1, I will cover topics that you need to know also, all right, in Sec 1 and also in the future, which is in Sec 2. All right, so this today, right, the topic is something called measuration. Measuration is actually related to things like area and perimeter. You learn about that in your primary school, all right, area and perimeter. But in primary school, you need to learn things like rectangle, circle, and square. All right, in secondary school, there will be a bit more three-dimensional drawings. All right, you need to know certain formulas. This topic, right, is actually quite simple to me. Why? Because it's all about formulas. So if you know the formulas, right, you apply it correctly, you will always get the answer one. All right, but the thing is to remember the formulas, which many of you don't like, I know. All right, but too bad. All right, this topic is about memorizing the formula. All right, I will try to better explain to you how the formula can be remembered. All right, but again, it's still about you trying to memorize the formulas, Can? All right, so if you have your exercise book with you, that will be good because this exercise book will contain all your secret recipe from me. All right, the secret formulas from me. All right, so you can actually consolidate them, and in future it'll be very useful. All right, if you have printed out the worksheet, it'll be even better because the worksheet is colored. All right, so there will be more colors. You can actually use a colored pens with me in order to attempt the question. All right, make the workings more exciting, If not, mathematics will be quite dull, right? Okay, so your stationery, if you have some colored pens, your correction tape, your ruler, your pen and pencil with you, that would be great. And most importantly, Sally. All right, Sally must be beside you. Sally is my calculator's name. Yep, she's called Sally, just to let you know. And the last one, I need your attention and focus for the next 1.5 hours. All right, I will try to finish promptly at 8:30. Can? All right, 5 questions, but before we go into the 5 questions, there are some key formulas you need to know. All right, so what are the key formulas for Sec 1? All right, for Sec 1, you learn something called what? Sec 1, all right, it's coming up for those who haven't do this topic in Sec 1. All right, this topic is usually done in the term 3, term 4. All right, Sec 1, you learn simple things like area of square, rectangle, and all this. All right, so it's the same formula. All right, so this is like a square. All right, a square is 4 sides the same length. All right, and in order to find the area, you simply take the length times length square. In order to find the perimeter, all right, you're supposed to take what? Length plus breadth, all right, times 2. But in this case, all the sides are the same, right? So it's actually 4 times length also can. All right, so rectangle is whereby you have the length and breadth. The length is the longer part. All right, I always call the length long. All right, LL. And this one is called the breadth. Another word for the breadth is called the width. All right, they mean the same thing. All right, the shorter part is called the breadth or the width. So the area is simply length times breadth. And the perimeter is simply one entire round, which is length plus breadth, the whole thing times 2. All right. So these are things that is actually very straightforward. Triangle. These 3 types of triangle, you need to get to know them. The slanted triangle, the normal triangle, and also the right angle triangle. Okay, so this is like a normal right angle triangle. Right, important thing is you need to know where is the base and the height. So this red color, all the red color is actually the base. All right, I might not have enough space, so let me push it a bit down here. Okay, all the red color are actually the base of the triangle. Triangle is 3 sides. The height is the one that sometimes you have to be more careful. The height is 90 degrees or perpendicular to the base. All right, for the slanted triangle, you must use the corner of ruler and look for the 90 degrees, which is actually down here. And for the right angle triangle, is down here. All right, so this portion is called the height, and height. base, base, and base. All right, these are quick revision, right, of what are the area and perimeter. So area for triangle is actually half times base times height. Right, half times base times height. Okay, the perimeter is simply just add up all the sides to do. Okay, so these are actually set one. You will go through all these simple stuff that you learn in primary school again. And another shape that you need to know is called the circle. All right, circle. So a circle has something called the radius. This is called the radius. It's represented as a r. So we have something called the area of the circle, which is given as pi times r times r. Right, we call this pi r square. And for the perimeter, or we call it the circumference to be a better term, we call it 2 pi r, or we can call it pi d. All right, 2 radius actually makes 1 diameter. So 2 pi r and pi d is the same. All right, so these are what you are going to learn in set 1 again. Again, yes. So when we talk about a little bit of the 3-dimensional drawing, right? All right, we have to bring out something called the topic of Prism in set 1. All right, so what's this meaning of Prism? Prism is actually a 3-dimensional drawing, a 3D or 3-dimensional, a 3-dimensional object or a item, all right, that has a constant, area of cross-section. Constant area of cross-section. All right, the reason why I'm going through all this is because many of you haven't haven't go through this topic in school yet. All right, so I don't want to make any confusion. All right, so probably just give you a bit of the summary first. All right, if not, I scared you get lost. So what is the example of a prism? All right, so for example, a prism is this one. What is this called? This is actually called a nice drawing. I know, right? Okay, so this is actually called a cube, right? Where all the sides are the same. All right, this is called a cube. So a cube is considered a prism. Why? All right, simply because, right, if I take a knife and I slice from the top layer by layer. I take a knife and I slice from the top layer by layer. All right. So I cut from the top down. If I cut from the top down, right, I will always get a square. Is that true? All right. If I cut layer by layer from top down, I will always get a square. And the last piece I cut, right, will also be a square. So this thing that I cut, right, from layer to layer, it will look something like that. All right. Every layer I cut, it looks something like that. All right. It will always be of this blue color. All right. That is called a prism, actually. All right. Another example of a prism is actually this one. Okay. This is something called a, what is this? All right. It's different from a cube. We call this a cuboid. We call this a cuboid. All right, so cuboid is like the friend of a rectangle. A cube is like a friend of a square. So now, right, this cuboid, why I call it a prism? Because I'm going to slice it. But now I'm going to slice it up to down. All right, I'm going to slice and get out this portion. All right, I'm going to slice from top to down. Keep slicing. I'm going to slice out this part. So if I keep cutting from top to down, right, I keep getting what? I keep getting this rectangular shape. Is that true or not? And this rectangular shape is always of the same size, same area. All right, I keep slicing from top to down. So just now the blue color, The square, I slice from what? Left to right, right? This one I slice from top to down. Okay. I keep getting the same rectangle. Can you see? All right. This makes it a prism also. This makes it a prism also. All right. Because I keep getting the same shape until the last piece, I still can get a rectangle from the cuboid. That's why it's called a prism. There's another one. All right. We have friend of square. We have friend of rectangle. And now we have friend of circle, which is the cylinder. A cylinder, is it a prism? All right. The cylinder, is it a prism? Yes. Why? Because if you keep slicing from the bottom up, now you keep slicing from the bottom up, you keep getting a what? You keep getting a circle. All right. You slice from bottom up until the last piece on top, you will always get a same circle. Can you see? Nice, right? My drawing, I know. All right. So all these are examples of prism. So a cube, a cylinder, and a cuboid are examples of prism, right? Because if you keep slicing at certain part, right, what happened? You keep getting the same shape, right? So the general formula for a prism, right, in terms of the volume of prism, right, is actually the area of cross section. Area of cross section times the height. Right, the volume of a prism. Volume of prism is area of cross section times the height. All right, so I purposely made up of these three colors down here: orange, blue, and green. So these are actually called the area of cross section. This one, and this one. All right, these are actually called the area of cross section. Okay, so for a cylinder, right, area of cross section is a circle. So it's simply pi r squared times height. What's the height? So the height is actually down here. Okay, so this is the height of a cylinder. So it's pi r squared times height. That's called the volume of the cylinder. All right, so it's always the base area. In this case, the base area is a circle. The base area is also called the area of cross section. Area of cross section means the place that you cut. Every time you cut, it will give you the same shape throughout. That's called the area of cross section. In this case, for the cylinder, it's a circle. So area of cross section in this case is a circle, which means pi r squared times the height, which is the yellow color portion. Okay. For the cube also, the area of cross section is like the top portion, and the height will be this portion here. All right, so it's the area of the blue color times the yellow color, the height. For the cuboid, right, down here, right, there's no height, right? The area of rectangle is like the orange color portion, but where's the height? There's no height, right? You also can times the depth also. So this is actually called the depth. The depth means to go inwards. The height means top down. So down here, beside we talk about the height, right, we also can talk about something called the depth. All right, sometimes they call it the depth. All right, the height or depth is used interchangeably down here. All right, so that is the general formula for the prism. So it's the area of cross section times the depth. So how do you take a look? For example, the cuboid, right? This is the front facing you. You must look for the 90 degrees that, it goes in the opposite direction one. It's like a sudden 90-degree turn, right? Can you see the cube on top is like that? Then it suddenly have a 90-degree turn, means go downwards, right? Which is the height down there. Can you see not? So it's like the place that is having a 90-degree turn is actually the height or the depth that you are supposed to multiply. What is the difference with the cube and the cuboid? Cuboid is a friend of a rectangle. All right. Cuboid is a friend of the rectangle. So everything is long one. All right. Rectangle one. Can you see not? All right. Cuboid, a cube, right? A cube is the square. It's all square throughout. All right. So that's the difference between a cube and a cuboid.